The offseason. We are here again, folks, between year 8 and year 9, trying to find ways to improve this team to get back on track into a championship season. Last episode, we saw how year 8 came to a close. The Spurs got their revenge in Game 7 of the WCF rematch, and they took us down. It was a poor game from our star player, one of our star players, Simon Anderson, my favorite player on the team personally, and I know that's probably the case for many of you. And he had a great playoff run until that game, but that's all right. Nobody picked up his slack, unfortunately, and now we have to make the most of the moves that we can make here in the offseason. And one thing that I thought about a whole lot right after and kind of during the playoffs too is, could there be a better fit for us in place of Keldon Johnson? Now, he hasn't played bad for us whatsoever. He's actually been a really good piece to this team. But when I say fit, I mean, what do we need on this team? What has he provided to it? And where can we go? So, as you can see right here, he's a really good offensive player. He has some defensive qualities, but really, these two ratings right here for defense don't tell the whole story with him. I think when you think of a good defensive player, what you really think of is somebody like Jared Vanderbilt, who's got A+ and A and has badges for defense, which Keldon Johnson does not. So, for defense purposes, if you're looking for defense, I think you want to go with higher ratings on inside and outside defense and with defensive badges as well. But offense is where I'm leaning, and he's a good offensive player. As I said, in fact, he's probably a really good offensive player when he gets starting minutes, which he will probably get elsewhere if we trade him. Now, he has A+ three-pointer, but the issue here is that it's really not paying off as much as you would think. So he's been with our team for now 3 full seasons. He's done a great job in the time that he's been here for, and I think personally, I want to go more shooting. I want to go more three-pointers. I want to get a guy who is legitimately a three-point specialist. Keldon Johnson is not that, despite the A+ rating. He shot, let's go look at his stats real quick. This past season, he shot 37% from 3 and 46% from the field, which are both good numbers. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I think he probably wants more so where he was in his first year with us, shooting around 38 or higher from 3. In fact, every year that he's been with us, he has gotten worse from 3 as it's gone on, and I think we have to move away from that trend and go with somebody else who is going to be a really good three-point shooter, like somewhere around the 40s. So I'm going to look for a player like that and probably trade Keldon Johnson, because Keldon Johnson is making just over $20 million a season, and with this kind of production off the bench in 24 minutes a game, I think you can get that from a player with a lower overall who's also younger and on a much cheaper contract. And I think that Joel Carney, in fact, could probably play a similar role as the Keldon Johnson did this year and do that, because this season, playing 17 minutes a game, he scored more than Keldon Johnson, and he's not going to rebound as much as Keldon Johnson. He probably won't get as many assists. In fact, let's go compare real quick. Keldon Johnson had 3.8 boards, 1.7 assists. So Carney actually could match the rebounds per game, and he already has more assists per game. So I think you're seeing that Carney can play that role better than Keldon Johnson did this season. And that means that we can go with another wing that can be a really good three-point shooter to come off the bench whenever Anderson or somebody else like Todd Graves maybe needs a break. We're also going to count on Todd Graves and Carney having some improvements in their offensive abilities. I think I want more defense abilities for Carney with a couple of offensive badges. And for Graves, I'm looking for all offense all the time. I'm looking for offensive badges. I'm looking for much higher three-pointer, much higher inside scoring. The mid-range is actually pretty all right. But any improvements offensively, I'm looking for Todd Graves. Because if we get those, I think he will be a very well-rounded player. And he's definitely going to be starting at small forward again this next season. But I can't trade Keldon Johnson right now because we have to get through a couple of things first. And that is going to start with player retirements. Kyrie Irving will retire after 19 pro seasons as a Rocket. Anthony Davis, a lot of years in Los Angeles, he will retire there. He had a 1 year left on his contract. Kyrie did not. Terry Rozier's done. Dinwiddie, who played for us in the early goings of the year, I think maybe he played for the Sound, actually. I forget. It's been a while. It's been several seasons. Andre Drummond's done. Aaron Gordon, Josh Hart, Cam Payne, Derek Jones Jr., and then a bunch of role players. Staff retirements. Mike Budenholzer of the Bucks has retired. He did not get fired early in his tenure there as he did in real life. Wasn't that early, actually, but it was still, he still was fired. But down here, we lose our assistant GM, so we're going to have to replace not only him, but also our CFO. In the Hall of Fame this year, you have Anthony Davis and Kyrie. I think that makes sense. And Kyrie, funnily enough, does not get a jersey retired. You would think that the Cavaliers would probably retire his for what he did for them back in 2016. But I guess not. Anthony Davis will have his Lakers and Pelicans ones retired, though. Now it's time for the draft ladder. We don't have a dog in this fight, but we're going to just send this and see what happens. We should have the pick, the 30th overall pick in the draft, if I recall correctly. And it looks like the Jazz have the first overall pick, followed by the Suns, who have a couple of all-stars on their team. Then after that, the Hawks, Clippers, Bulls, Pistons, Nets, Timberwolves, Raptors, Sound, Mavericks, Trailblazers, Nets, Rockets, Wizards, Heat to round out the lottery. And then we do have pick number 30. The Spurs pick right behind us. And for staff signing week, we do have to fill in 2 front office positions. We also probably got to hire some more coaching staff people because a couple of those guys have left. Probably going to focus on maybe rounding it out entirely this time. I think I left one open previously, but I'll try and see if we can add all 4 of these positions here. Then we got to add probably just 1 head scout, and we'll be done with the scouting department. And then for sports medicine, we're probably fine here. All right, so we have signed a new perimeter defensive coach, Patrick St. Andrews. He has a couple of badges. That's pretty much what I was focusing. Not only that, but also a good defensive rating, so that's going to help out. We got Nate Mitchell as a post D coach, another good defensive coach that has some badges. We're waiting on Douglas Cotton and Ime Udoka to respond to our offers. Trying to sign Udoka as a shot doctor, not a head coach. We also bring in Marshall Kelly as our assistant GM and Ted Byers as our new CFO. All right, so we are blocked from signing Cotton and a head scout that I tried to offer for, and Udoka has rejected our offer. But we do sign two staff members, a physio and a sports scientist, for our health department. We signed Terrence Gordon as our new head scout, and we bring in Stephen Gibson and Kiana Isley as our wing whisperer and shot doctor. So that rounds out our staff. We have all 17 spots filled out, and now it's time for the NBA draft. But before we do this, I gotta be honest. I went through and I added a bunch of people to our draft board in order of draft position in terms of where they're supposed to be going. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not loving this draft class for what I'm looking for. So I'm kind of thinking like whoever we draft, even if they have some good offensive abilities or even defensive ones, they would probably be playing in the G League for most of their first year, kind of like Todd Graves. Because at this point, I don't think we can really afford, like maybe if they were to be our 10th man, and then once, the playoffs come around, then they would just sit the entire time. But it just depends what you look for there. But I'm not a fan of this draft class, and most of these guys won't even be here at our pick at pick 30, so I'm not going to bother showing players to you guys until we get to our pick. But I might try and see if a Keldon Johnson trade can move us up in the draft by a little bit. Or maybe even by 15 spots or so. I think that could be worth doing, and then drafting there. Regardless of who you take, you draft somebody for the future probably. But I'll see what the trades come up for Keldon Johnson and go from there. Alright, so here's one trade that is actually pretty intriguing. The Magic are offering up Hans Meyer and Clint Black in exchange for Keldon Johnson and a 2034 first-round pick. That's not this year's pick, obviously. That's a couple years down the line. And you would save a lot of money, about $7 million this year, and they don't have contracts for next year yet because I think they're both on their rookie deals still, and they have 1 year left on those. So Clint Black, I mean, both players are coming off. I think Myers played 2 years. No, he's played more than that, actually. He's played 5. Jesus. So he came in as like a 19-year-old or something. Black is coming off his first season, and he was traded during the year as well from the Timberwolves. He averaged 7 points per game, 3.6 boards, only played about 14 minutes per game, shot 50%. Is actually a decent free throw shooter. I forget if Keanu Murphy has a contract for next year. I think he might. If he does, then this could be a problem. But Hans Meyer is the kind of guy that I'm looking for. He is a guard, so he's on a wing. But he is a guy that is elite from beyond the arc. He did not play in his first year, but in all 4 years that he's actually been playing, mostly around 20-ish minutes off the bench, he has not only shot pretty well from the field, but he shot over 40% from 3 in all 4 seasons, and he's a good free throw shooter too. So you also see this with his badges. If we go to his badges, he's got 7. All of them that are shooting. He's got gold claymore, silver catch and shoot, silver corner specialist, a couple other ones too, which are sure to improve in the offseason. He is definitely a guy that you could look to because he's 6'5", Carney's 6'5". If you keep his Zet, he's 6'6". You have a good 3 guards and a wing off that bench, and then you maybe keep Jared Vanderbilt if you can, and you have a center off the bench too. Then you have that full lineup out there, and I think that could really work. So after looking through all these deals, I do think that's probably the best one for us to take. I might want to make a counter offer and see if we can still get a trade up in this draft, but I think that sounds good. Wait, hold on a minute. Here's one from Minnesota. They want to offer us Horace Rivers, who's only 26 years old. We know about him. He was our first ever draft pick. He's not an elite three-point shooter. He shot similarly as to Keldon Johnson in the last couple of seasons, especially the last 3. And Rivers has done all right for himself. He still shoots around 43%, it looks like, at least this past year. And he had just an awful year at the line for some reason after doing decent for a while there. I don't know. I think we know about Rivers. I think we know who he is. I don't want to bring him back, but that is interesting. Yeah, this is for sure the best deal, and also it's kind of good that they only have 1 year deals on them right now because it gives you 1 year to learn about who these two players are and decide if you want to give them some kind of extension or whatnot. I just realized I can't actually trade our pick that we have, so we're not going to be trading up, but if maybe they would offer a counter offer if we asked for maybe their pick number 22. They counter offer with asking for 2 unprotected first round picks in 33 and 34 to get their 22nd overall pick as well. I can't say I care about these picks too much, but both of them to get their pick this year when they're going to get Keldon Johnson, and we have pick 30. I don't know, and we can't trade pick 30. I don't know if I want to bring in 2 players that won't get a whole lot of playing time. I think I'm just going to go back to the original offer and just do that one instead. And by the way, Keanu Murphy actually does have 1 more year left on his deal, but I think that we can make this work. Clint Black could even just be a backup center that we don't even have to sign because we still have Keanu Murphy. So this, I think this still works out. I think you get what you want. Maybe giving up a first round pick is a bit too much, but Keldon Johnson is 30 and is going to be 31 going into next season. So we're getting 2 young players in exchange. I think this is a fair deal. And Hans Meyer is a 3-point specialist, and that's what I want on this team. So I'm going to make this trade. So the trade has been complete. Keldon Johnson is gone after 3 full years with us. I appreciate what he did for us, and he was never bad for us. I just felt like we had to go a different direction. And now we can rely on Hans Meyer for elite 3-point scoring. And yeah, and now I think we're pretty set at center. Not that we have to worry about signing anybody else for that position. We could focus on other spots for the minimum contracts. But let's move forward here. It's time for the draft. And I think I'll show you guys the top 5 picks. And then once we get to those 5, I'll just sim right to our pick. And then I'll show you guys the entire draft class afterwards, because we're going to look at them anyways. So I might as well just look at it there instead of just watching over it twice. So let's in the first 5 picks, sim to ours, and make that pick, and go over a couple different prospects that are still available. And then we'll go over the prospects that were actually drafted before ours. But here we go. First overall pick belongs to the Utah Jazz, and they will select point guard Devin Hayward, who is a stud, a 6'6" point guard out of Ohio State. He's a Buckeye, and he is a very well-rounded player. Next up, we got the Phoenix Suns. They take Austin Hollins out of Syracuse. I don't think he was supposed to go this early. 6'8" small forward. He's got a hell of a mohawk, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Atlanta Hawks next up with pick number 3. They will trade this pick for who? Or for what? They trade this pick and Corey Kispert, who was offered to us for Keldon Johnson, to get Alex Barker from the Sound. What? The Sound have given up on Barker. They have given up on rebuilding around him. Maybe he wants to go somewhere to win. Maybe the Hawks have the blueprint in place for that. Wow, that is a huge trade. And with this pick, the Sound will select Owen Dawson, 6'3" shooting guard. Alex Barker was a shooting guard that they took, I want to say it was 4th or 5th overall or something, before Anderson was taken in that draft. But wow, that is a huge move to make, and they're going to rely on him. So we'll see what happens there. The Clippers select Frank Thorpe out of Oklahoma with pick number 4. And the final pick of the first 5 is the Bulls taking Dante Graves. Maybe he is related to Todd Graves. I have no idea. Out of TCU, 6'7" shooting guard. Very well rounded. And yeah, let's move forward and sim the rest until our pick. So through 29 picks in this draft, we have reached pick 30. And, well, our draft board is cut down to 3 players. We got center Karan Green, who I'm not going to draft because he's a center. We don't need another one of these guys on our team. And he pretty much fits the mold of Don Payne. When he was drafted, pretty much only a defender and rebounder at the start, but can grow into a decent offensive player as time allows. The only other 2 guys on this draft board that are still left are Howard Lawrence and Clint Booker. Both of them are wings. And I think I'm going to be drafting one of these guys today. I wish that some other folks would have drafted, or not drafted, but fallen to us. But Howard Lawrence reminds me a lot of Azette, minus the 3-point scoring. He's a very, jack of all trades, master of none coming into the league. Again, D 3-point scoring is an issue. Maybe he can grow out of that to like a B or B plus by the end of his growth. But we'll see. He is 21 years old. But high athleticism. We don't have him scouted that well at all, so I have no idea about his potential, which is why he's more of a gamble than Clint Booker is. And in terms of badges, we don't know shit all about him. We don't know shit all about him. So Clint Booker, what about him? Well, he's actually pretty similar. We don't know about his badges, but we do know that he's probably a better defensive player, and he has probably more room to grow offensively. He's not a good mid-range or 3-point scorer at all. He can score inside a little bit. Not a good rebounder, good athlete, but a B-plus potential. I think between these 2 guys, you probably trust the potential there from your new scout, and you take a chance on, either guy is going to be that kind of 6'8", small forward roll off the bench in a couple years' time. Weaknesses, not a good finisher. Just didn't have much 3-point shooting ability. Strengths, makes tough plays on defense. Good but not great pickpocket ability. Good athlete with hops. For Lawrence, his strengths are knack for blocking shots, pickpocket extraordinaire, and he is very good just getting himself in place on defense. He's a bad passer, not much touch around the basket, and not good three-point shooting. So pretty similar stuff as to Booker. They're both 21 years old, although Lawrence does have, well, I mean, their listed height. I thought this says 6'8", listed height says 6'6". Booker seems to weigh a bit more. They have similar wingspans. Looks like Booker is rated highly, a little bit more. No, actually, it's kind of unclear where each guy should be going. I think I like Booker more by a little bit, and I think he has more room to grow, and we know more about him. So I'm just going to take Clint Booker here, and he will not be playing a whole lot. He'll probably be playing mostly in the G League, and will fill out his other spots with a signing or two. There he is, Clint Booker. Welcome to the team. Why can't I draft him? All right, Clint Booker. Welcome to the team. Rob Mahoney says that we have landed an obvious steal here by drafting a player in Clint Booker that I had coming off the board 10 picks ago. So this was the guy that thought he would go 10 picks ago, but we get him here instead. And honestly, you know what? I'm going to trust in Rob Mahoney. Hopefully this guy pans out for us, but we will be seeing that in a lot of simming later on down the line. But let's move forward. With the draft now over, let's go over the draft summary. So Hayward was taken first overall, and he is an 80 overall, 13 badges, 19 years old. He's going to be a stud. Second overall was Austin Hollins, no badges, 77 overall, already 22. That was a heck of a gamble by the Suns. What's his potential like? It's B+, so definitely a bit of a reach there. Hayward has got to be A+, I'm sure of it. It's A, just not quite. Owen Dawson, the new Alex Barker of the Sound. 5 badges, 3-level score, 21 years old, 77 overall. Really good defender, and he's got B+ potential, so another kind of a reach. But those guys in the top of the draft usually reach their potential. Frank Thorpe also B+. He's got 2 badges as a 76 overall. Dante Graves, A- potential, so a pretty good pick by the Bulls here. Boyd Lyons, just below 80 overall, 19 years old, 2 badges, goes to the Pistons. Willis Sanders, a center, 76 overall. Evan Kersey, 3 straight centers, he goes to Minnesota. Chris Madison, 1 badge, 76, goes to Toronto. The Sound also had pick 10, and they take Percy Cross, 77 overall, 2 badges. Travis Ellis to the Mavericks, 2 badges, 75 overall. Rodney Rice, 6'1", 1 badge. Andre Nelson, a 5-badge center, 78 overall, going to Brooklyn. Blake Kennedy, 76 overall, 1 badge. Lonnie Arnold, 75, 3 badges. Dylan Lambert, who I kind of was hoping would fall to us. He has a very much more well-rounded repertoire than the guy that we drafted, but we still got a guy that can, I think, improve in every area. 2 badges, 76 overall for him. Chucky Waters, 1 badge, 73. Pedro Pessoa, no badges, 76, but he's 7'3" at center. That's going to be a huge, tall guy. Roberto Navarro, 3 badges, 73 overall. Mel Peterson, 2 badges, 73. Pick 21, Felipe Ramos, up to 76 overall, 19 years old, 1 badge. Edmund Cotton, 73 with 3 badges. Mel Erickson, 74 and 1 badge. Dion Reeves, no badges, 71 overall. Wesley Gibbs, 72 overall, no badges. Peter Townsend, 4 badges, 74. Chip Drew, 1 badge, 74 overall. Pick 28, Jesse Peters, who was probably who I would really consider drafting. I know I said I wouldn't go guard, but he is 6'4". He's got 4 badges. He's a really good 3-point shooter, apparently. 3-point scoring. This guy could have been that elite 3-point shooter if you don't... If you want to trade him instead of trading for Hans Meyer. But Hans Meyer is more of a sure thing for sure. So After that, Gregor Cheeks, 4 badges, 73 overall, 6'4" point guard who can shoot threes. And then our pick was Clint Booker at 71 overall. Definitely needs to work on some things. No badges. We will see him in the G League. And his potential is... It's the wrong player. Great. He's got B potential. So he'll probably be around where Carney is right now in the 77-79 range. So I think you take that with a late first-round pick. Last 2 picks were Donnie Smart and Pat Harvey. Neither of them too special, and Donnie Smart is 5'9". That is a huge reach by the Spurs. In the second round, I'll breeze through this real quick. Couple early 74s, so a couple of nice picks here by a couple of different teams. I think after this, I will look up and see, what players are there with A- or higher potential that are less than 25 years old. We can see where the future of the league is at. But first, let's just get some of the signings out of the way. Let's first get Clint Booker onto his 2-year contract. And for our team player options, let's bring back Graves and Carney, of course. We will obviously extend a qualifying offer to Don Payne. This list shows you all the players in the league who are less than 26 years old and have a potential of A- or higher. So let's take a look. This is going in order of overall, not potential. So Calvin Gordon is only 23 years old, and he's already an amazing player and MVP level player. He was quite the pick by the Spurs. He is amazing. Thomas Copeland still here. He's 25 years old right now. Anderson is 28 currently, so he will be way off this list at this point. There's also Max Christie, who's currently, I believe, a free agent. Leroy Kent. Dedrick Sloan. I think this might be pronounced as Derek. I know that, I think it's the Irish, maybe. I think they pronounce their D silently if they're in the middle of some names. I'm not entirely sure. I'll just keep calling him Dedrick. Tommy Shepard's on here. Palapacciani. Julio Haywood. We know about a lot of these guys. Brent Davis. Gordon Dunn. Tyrone Murphy. Angelo Balestrieri. Sylvester McNeil for the Kings, who's got A+ potential. Devin Hayward, who was taken by the Jazz, obviously. Todd Graves for us. Love seeing him on here. Mao Chung Lee. Curtis Soto. Cecil Arnold of the Sound. Doug Strickland. Andre Nelson. Joel Carney for us. So we have a couple of guys on here, which is good for the future of the team because we know I think we have a really good balance of current level of play and future level of play. It's also Alexander Dunleavy, Donald Saunders, Mitch Byers, Willis Sanders, Abraham Moreland, Dante Graves, Homer Kent, Travis Ellis, Chris Franklin, Chip Drew. A lot of guys from this last draft, actually. Gregor Cheeks, Val Bagaric. In fact, I think all these guys down here are from this past draft or something. There is Alejandro Santiago with A+ potential. Plays for the Bulls. Couple of unsigned guys that I think are actually from the G League, maybe. And, yeah, that's your list. But of the guys on here, the guys with A+ potential, there's only a handful of them. There's only 3 of them. Calvin Gordon, Sylvester McNeil, and Alejandro Santiago. But now it's time for moratorium, and Luka Doncic has left the Celtics to become a free agent unrestricted. Once again, he will have the entire league going after him. We don't have the money to afford him, so won't be making an offer towards him. And I don't think we even need him. Karl Anthony Towns is here, along with Josh Giddey, Chet Holmgren, Trae Young, Shadon Sharp, Dyson Daniels, DeAndre Ayton, Max Christie, Jalen Suggs, Anthony Simons, Palapacciani's here unrestricted. Hold on a moment. That's interesting. Davion Mitchell's here. Jaden Ivey, De'Aaron Fox, Julio Haywood, and more. So on the roster right now, we have Anderson, Halliburton, Todd Graves, Murphy, Carney, Bol, Meyer, Black, and Booker. So by position, we do need another backup point guard. I think Carney might go back to a Keldon Johnson-esque role off the bench. Maybe we can bring in a different kind of a point guard that's a better passer and get in the ball off ball. Even though he's a good ball handler, I think we have the chance to go with another point guard that maybe hopefully shoots less and passes more. We'll have to look into that further in terms of tendencies as we make the signings. For shooting guard, we definitely want to get at least one more guy on here. For small forward, we're probably set. Or we could go with another backup wing, I think. Because Booker's probably not going to get a whole lot of playing time, if any. Power forward, we have Boble on the roster. Vanderbilt hit the open market. I kind of want to bring Vanderbilt back, but we'll see what happens. And then center, we have Murphy and Black, so I want to get one more here at the very least. So we have to get a couple people at each position, but yeah, let's get down to it. All right, so Pete Sharp is available. He has one of the highest dish to open man tendencies available on the market. He is 6'2", but I would be willing to sign him if maybe we can get him for a little bit cheaper than he wants. But if I do this kind of goes against the point that I made at the start of the video, the Hans Meyer trade, or at least earlier in the video, because we could, in theory, still keep Azette and just have Carney, Meyer, and Azette just run as the bench unit. And that's a pretty solid bench unit in my opinion. But if you want to go with the point guard, who you pretty much have to play given how much he wants, this guy is your guy. Even though he's 6'2", he can shoot very much from 3, not so much from the field. That's not bad. Like 42 is all right, but around 40%, just below 40% from 3 is really good for a point guard. And he's got badges for passing, and he's a really good playmaker, and he's got the highest dish to open man. So I think like if you are gonna make a signing like this, you bring in this guy. But with the cap hold, you might want to hold off on this and maybe focus on bringing back Zet and Vanderbilt perhaps. There is also Malcolm McKinney, who's a very similar player, although he is 6 foot and he wants a lot less money. But I still feel the same way about that as I do about bringing in Pete Sharp. So I'm still looking for that point guard that maybe could save us some money. It could be worth bringing in, like Lambo Starakis perhaps. Really good shooter. 2.6 or 3.7 assists per game for San Antonio this year. He did not play in the playoffs pretty much at all. Played less than 20 minutes a game, maybe. He also has 12 badges, so I think it's at least worth giving him an offer. Because even if we don't want to play him at the start, he could be a guy that could easily come in for somebody into the bench unit and play there as the starting point guard. He is 6 foot. I don't usually sign guys these short any longer, but for the shorter guys that I've seen play against us, it hasn't been much of an issue, especially if they're taking more threes than anything else. This guy's a really good three-point shooter, so I think this is an offer that you feel comfortable making to be that like third point guard. Omer Zed is also here, and he wants less money than he, I think, was making last year. It might be the same number, but he's here. There's a couple other players with similar overalls in terms of the affordable players that we can sign. I feel comfortable bringing him back. I think that he is a really good player, even with the like lack of badges. And even though he didn't have the greatest game in Game 7, I don't really care. I wasn't expecting him to pop off or anything. And he would save us a lot of money. Wellington is also here. Do you bring him back? He's got 13 badges now. A-, A+. Shot really well from 3 this past season. I mean, he shot well from 3 for us too. Do you bring Wellington back? That could be a pretty decent move. I mean, in theory, you could bring both guys back and just have a Zet be a similar role as to Rakis and just kind of fill in when somebody gets hurt or when someone's not playing well. And he only wants less than $10 million. That could be affordable for us. He's not a good defender at all, but he fits our system fairly well. I think we know that he's a good shooter. We've seen it firsthand. He can pass the ball too. His badges have... Let's see, what have his badges gone up to? Or what are the things here? He's got 2 for finishing badges. He's got a couple for shooting, including catch and shoot finally. He's got several playmaking ones, so you would get a lot, probably more assists. I think you at least see if he's willing to take a contract with you. Want to offer him less than he initially wanted because want to maybe lowball him a little bit, be a little bit cheap. Okay, we have gotten through moratorium. I will show you what we did. But first, Luka Doncic signs with the Brooklyn Nets on a 4-year contract, $218 million. He will be heading there to lead them. Karl Anthony Towns heads to the Dallas Mavericks. Josh Giddey to the Pacers. A lot of movement here. Holmgren stays with the Thunder. Aiden stays with the Suns. Christie, is he returning to Portland? I don't think so. Let's check real quick. No, he is returning to Portland on a 4-year deal. Jalen Suggs is heading to Utah, along with Devin Hayward, their first overall pick. Paciani is going to return to Washington. Julio Haywood heads over to the Lakers after being in Minnesota for a couple of seasons. Sadiq Bey to the Hawks, and you're seeing it right here. Wait, what? This is not what I wanted, man. This makes no sense. I will show the footage of me making the offer. I gave this dude a 5-year contract to lock him up for 5 years, and he declined the qualifying offer on that last page, and he accepted he took the 5-year deal, and now it's showing us that he took the qualifying offer, which is less money. That makes no sense, Don. Why are you doing this to me? Now this means that he can become a unrestricted free agent after this upcoming season, which is not what I want. I want to attach this guy to our team for his entire life. Why does the game do that? Someone's got to tell me. So the plan was obviously to have him signed to a 5-year contract, but he doesn't take it. Bridges heads to Sacktown. A couple other signings down here. We do bring back Wellington on a 2-year, $19 million contract. We also brought in Omer Azette. We did not bring in Durakis because we cannot afford to bring him and Wellington back in. But I feel comfortable bringing Wellington back in. I think he can fill in that role as a passer. And I think I will probably play him at the point, Carney at the guard, and then Meyer at small forward. Then Azette can fill in if either of those spots aren't working out for us. But I think that makes more sense than what I originally thought. Also, real quick, I am going to add point guard to Wellington's secondary position because I believe we drafted him as a point guard, but we switched him back to shooting guard after like his first year or something. But we're going to make point guard a secondary spot so he can play there without any need for us to make any changes there. And by the way, I kind of want to change up the home uniform. I'm not sure if I'm feeling the pinstripes with our color scheme or this look. What do you guys feel like? Because I definitely like our away and alternate ones, but I think we could use a change with the home uniform. I know it's been only 1 year, but I feel like we could adjust it some way. But if you guys have any ideas, let me know. I might toy with it between now and next episode, but let me know what you guys think about changing up the home uniform. Also, we still have our mid-level exception, and if we can use that on Jared Vanderbilt, that's what I want to do. So I'm going to offer him the mid-level exception contract, a little bit less maybe, and bring him back in for maybe not 3 years, maybe 2 years. Well, actually 3. He's going to have some regression probably after next year. So he could be a pretty good trade piece after next season if he does regress. But I think we'll offer him this and bring him in on that, and hopefully he takes it. Then we can just focus maybe one more signing to round out this team. For our next signing, I think Matthew Wright-Foreman could be the guy. He did not play at all for Portland last year. Before that, he played for Utah and shot well in about 10 minutes a game. And he's got 7 badges. We don't know a whole lot about, what he can give us on the court, really, because of his lack of playing time. But he won't be playing that much for us either. But mid-range scoring, 3-point scoring, playmaking. He's a pretty well-rounded guy besides inside scoring. And he's got badges for shooting and playmaking. Mostly playmaking, actually, which could be, a decent guy to have to bring in to, facilitate some ball movement. So you could go after him, who also maybe could be a pretty good shooter as well. You know what? For one final offer, why not see if Colin Gillespie could be another backup point guard for the reserves team? Really good shooter with playmaking as well. And he averaged 6 and 2 in 16 minutes a game last year. Shot very well from 3 and from the field. So why not? Jared Vanderbilt will sign and return to the Woodsmen, and Matthew Wright-Foreman accepts his deal as well. And now Colin Gillespie has signed, and that should round out the team. We don't actually have enough cap to sign him to a non-minimum deal, so let's see if he's willing to accept the minimum. We are kind of broke over here. Where is he? There he is. You want to take the minimum deal, pal? And he does take the offer. Welcome, sir. All right, so now we have a 15-man roster, which I believe is the max you can have on a team. So we are well below or above. I'm not even sure what the right terminology is, but we are negative 30 million in the cap. And I don't want to make any other offers. So I think I feel pretty good about these moves. I feel pretty good about, bringing in Wellington back, which it might be unpopular. Not sure how you guys feel about him. But I think that he's worth bringing back, giving some playing time off the bench, and just being a better player than he was when we let him go. And we can just move on to the next part of the offseason, which I believe is player progression. So let's get to the rest of this and see where different players sign, and then we'll move on to that and see truly how much growth do Graves and Carney have. I think Payne could have some last-minute growth, but it won't be a whole lot. I think we kind of know the kind of player that Payne is. We know what he gives you, so not going to expect anything different from Payne in terms of his ratings or his gameplay for next season. But all these guys are still available right now. I will check the signed right now, and then we'll go through probably the start of next episode. I'll go over all the different teams and look through their rosters very briefly, just giving you guys an update on the league. Or I could do it at the end of this episode. I'm actually doing it at the end of this one instead. So let's do that. But all the ones that we missed, Trae Young heading to the Wizards to team up with Paolo Pacciani. And I know they had Paolo Banchero, but I wonder if he left. Dyson Daniels returns to the Dallas Mavericks. Anthony Simons heads over to the Warriors on a 1-year, $8 million deal. What? How did they do that? How did they possibly swing that? That can't be right. Jalen Suggs to Utah. I might have already said that. De'Aaron Fox goes to the Sound. Wow, okay, interesting. We saw Julio Haywood, Davion Mitchell with the Sound. We saw Miles Bridges, or no, that's Mikal Bridges over to the Timberwolves. Sadiq Bey returns to the Atlanta Hawks. Johnny Davis to the Kings. Underwood returns to the Thunder. Devin Vassell to Portland. There's Don Payne. There's Vanderbilt on that 3-year contract. We saw Miles Bridges, Jordan Poole to the Rockets. Rob Williams to the Pacers. Jalen Duren to the Celtics. Mo Bamba heads to the Lakers. Jaden Hardy signs with OKC. Obi Toppin to the Knicks. And a bunch of role players down here. All right, now here's the big test. What kind of growth do we get from our young players? Well, I'm seeing some positives right off the bat. Anderson does not lose anything. In fact, he goes up in perimeter defense. I'm not sure how much that'll be helping, though. Halliburton goes down by 2. But I'm not taking any ratings fall here, so I'm not going to worry about that. Todd Graves, though, up to an 83/84. I think he gained 3 badges. We'll take a look at those. I think he had 10 before this point. He goes with a C plus inside scoring, B plus mid-range scoring, B minus 3-pointer. Thank God, that's up 2 letter grades. B inside defense, B minus playmaking, C plus rebounding, A IQ. He improved a hell of a lot. So let's take a look at these badges real quick. See if I can notice which ones are new, which ones aren't. Wait, he's got 3 for shooting. Yes! This is what I wanted, especially catch and shooting blinders. Because blinders, as you can see, he's unfazed by defenders from his side. So he's going to catch the ball, he's going to shoot it, and if it's going in, it's going in. It's not going to be it's not going to be swayed left or right or too far or too short by the guy to his left or his right. Catch and shoot also, this has got to help him immensely, especially with the attribute upgrades too. Green Machine as well is a huge upgrade, and I'm imagining these ones got better. Looks like they did. He's got gold clamps now, gold menace, silver ankle braces, challenger, glove, interceptor, off-ball pest, pick dodger. Huge improvements for Todd Graves. Love that for him. Don Payne stays pretty much the same. He loses some physicals, but it does not affect his overall, so I'm not going to worry about it. Vanderbilt, same story for him. Joel Carney goes up to a 79, and I think he gained 4 badges. He had 3 before. Yeah, he had 3 during the season, so he definitely gained some there. He got better at inside scoring. He got better perimeter defense, which will help out, hopefully. He got better rebounding, physicals, and IQ. So three-pointer, mid-range stay the same, but they're already in a pretty good spot. Let's see what those badges are and see if they can help out. Looks like they're for shooting. So he's got gold volume shooting. They're probably all going to be not silver, but bronze. And it looks like he does now have catch and shoot, which I know he did not have this past season. So it looks like these 4 bottom ones are the new ones. So slippery off ball, which is great because he'll get more opportunities off ball because we're going to have Wellington be running the point once again. Guard up. He can make shots when defenders fail to properly contest. Perfect. He can make shots when trailing, and a better shot at hitting a 3 after making a catch. So catch and shoot. Perfect. And then he gets some improvements for the other ones. Gold volume shooter, silver claymore, silver corner specialist. Just what I wanted, just what the doctor ordered. The three-point shooting has got to be miles above what it was last season, which should elevate this team one level higher offensively. Keon Murphy, in the meantime, gets up to C for defense, D playmaking, not a whole lot here. Clint Black has some improvements to make. A- on mid-range, so 2-letter grades up there. He goes up 1 for inside scoring and IQ. Hans Meyer gets better at playmaking, but stays the same elsewhere. Does lose some physicals, but I think he'll be all right. Wellington goes up in rebounding and IQ. Bobo stays the same. Right Foreman gets better mid-range scoring. Cool. Azette stays the same. No regression for him. Gillespie loses a little bit across the aisle, but that's all right. And Clint Booker is a rookie, so no change for him. But I really love that we got what I wanted, badges and also upgrades for what I wanted to see. Better three-point scoring, a little bit better defense, just a better overall, and badges for both Graves and Carney. Perfect. This is perfect. And the All-Star City is Denver, Colorado. A lot of celebration on 420 and every other day coming up. We jump right to the start of the new season, year 9. And we will open the year at home against the Houston Rockets. All right, so this may not be exactly where I want it to be right now. This is kind of like a rough draft of how I envision this working out. Obviously, we might have to make some adjustments in terms of having all the backups out there at one time, especially multiple times during each game. We'll see if that becomes an issue. I think I want to start with something similar to this and then see if it works, and if it doesn't, or if there's issues, then we can have one of our star players in there with the rest of the bench unit if we need to. But I think I like this right here. Obviously, our starters are the same as last year. So Halliburton, Anderson, Graves, Bobo, and Payne. I gave Graves 2 more minutes than last year. I still, before I really give him like a big chunk more of minutes, which I probably won't even do until the playoffs arrive, I still want to get a good grasp on, like, have the badges, has the growth actually helped him improve on the offensive end? And if so, that's huge for us. If not, then I think we have guys that can make up for his lack of offense off the bench. I'm going to give Carney 20 minutes to start off. We could probably find ways to increase that by a couple of minutes around the way. Maybe you lower Anderson to like 31 minutes a game, and just keep him like fully fresh the whole year. Or do you play him for 34, 35 and have your best player out there for the most minutes without running him into the ground all year long? It just depends. Hans Meyer, I want to give around 16 minutes. Vanderbilt around 17. Wellington about 18. And Keon Murphy around 15. The least amount there because Payne will be playing a lot as well. And Bobo can also play center. And so I feel like we have a good balance there. I think this is pretty good. In terms of our coaching system, this year we actually are going to start with 3.5 stars out of 5. We have been rocking a 3 out of 5 star proficiency for a couple years in a row now. But in the, I believe the playoffs or like the last couple of weeks of the season last year, we improved from 3 to 3.5 stars because I was focusing team training on everybody learning the system and getting better at it. And it seems to have worked. And that usually gives you better results simming-wise. This should help us a lot. And we should, maybe, if everyone plays up to their standard, we might have a better record this year than last year. But that is maybe, I mean, that could be wishful thinking. Who knows? But yeah, the roster looks like this. Anderson, Halliburton, Graves, Payne, Vanderbilt, Carney, Clint Black, Keon Murphy, Hans Meyer, Byron Wellington, Bobo, Matthew Wright Foreman, Omer Izzet, Colin Gillespie, and Clint Booker. So I feel pretty good about this team. I think we really addressed the 3-point shooting. I think we addressed all the spots on our bench. I think we did a good job with our money, even though Payne did not take the 5-year contract for some reason, even though he was going to. I will try and see if I can extend him, but I probably won't be able to. What about the other team? Let's briefly go through the rest of the NBA and just give a brief look as to, you know, what kind of teams or what kind of players have these teams brought in. The Lakers got Leroy Kent, Julio Haywood, Mount Chung Lee, John Collins, Wendell Carter, Ernest George, and more. The Magic have Brent Davis still, along with Ryan Baker, who was their first draft pick in the series. I think it was the very first overall pick in this series. He's 30 years old now, 6'11". They have Keldon Johnson, obviously, thanks to the trade from us. They've got Freddie Lambert, Darrell Wheeler, Desmond Bain still, but he's regressed quite a bit. Brendan Wade, Chris Franklin, and more. The Mavericks brought in Karl Anthony Towns. They kept Dyson Daniels. They got Angelo Balestieri, so it's going to be... They're probably going to play Cat at power forward and play Balestieri at center. They got Zaire Williams too, with Reed Wall and Quentin Grimes, Lenny Weaver, and more. The Brooklyn Nets, this is intriguing. Luka Doncic and Shadon Sharp, along with KPJ, Andre Nelson, Terry Perry, Bo Erickson. The Nuggets still have their dynamic duo of LaMelo Ball and Nikola Jokic, along with Dalen Terry. I would assume we're still over there. Chris Duarte, Florian Kalmushi. The Pacers have John Morant and Josh Giddey now. That's a pretty good... That is a pretty good backcourt. Keegan Murray as well. Josh Primo, the Time Lord, and more. Pelicans still have Zion. They have Jaren Jackson Jr. now, both power forwards. So Zion's going to be playing center. You will bet on that. Or will Jaren Jackson be playing center? Who knows? Zion is only 6'6". Miles Turner is on this team as well. Interesting. They got a lot of bigs. Their best guard is a 77 overall. Then it goes down to like a 73. A lot of guys are down in overall because of morale or whatever. That'll improve as the year goes on or get better after like the first couple games. The Pistons have Cade Cunningham and they acquired Javon Davis. What? How did they get him? I guess St. Louis did not... St. Louis, I guess, chose to not re-sign him. They did not give him a qualifying offer, or they just chose not to match the offer sheet. And I guess that makes sense because he's coming off his worst season. In his 4th year, he puts together his worst campaign. And now the Pistons are taking a shot at him and seeing if he can get back to good graces. Andre Temple's here. Boyd Lyons, who's a rookie. Bobby Portis. Ted Stone, and more. And they have Steph Curry II. But he probably won't play that much. The Raptors have Scotty Barnes and Edwin Morris, who was hurt when we tried to watch our game against them last season. They got Colin Sexton, Cody Nelson, Malcolm Sullivan, Kobe Red, Chris Madison, who's a rookie. The Rockets with Jabari Smith Jr. But then it goes down all the way to Zeke Naji, Lamont Porter, Dunleavy, who's got that high potential. They got Jordan Poole, but he's aging. And now for the Sound. This actually could be a playoff caliber team because they signed Paolo Banchero as well. So they have De'Aaron Fox, Banchero, Davion Mitchell. So they signed 2 point guards, and they also drafted one. They got Herb Jones. They got Boris Perkins, Gabriel Webb, Arnold Clement, Kispert. Wait, where's the first overall pick? Oh wait, no, they didn't have the pick. They picked Owen Dawson. That's right. I'm getting teams mixed up. Probably a playoff caliber team. I'm not sure they would go very far, but it's definitely a playoff caliber team. Very well rounded. Spurs. Oh, they brought in AJ Griffin, who's a sniper from deep. I'm a Duke fan, so I know all about this guy. I fucking love this guy. They kept Batista. They kept Josh Christopher. Obviously, they have their 2-star players here still. They still have Pokasevsky and Tommy Sanders and Trey Murphy and Kyle Kuzma and Dustin Hickson and Matthew Jamison. They pretty much stayed the same, except they just made an improvement by bringing in AJ Griffin. Are you kidding me, guys? They only improved? They're going to be even tougher with this guy out there. The Suns still retain Devin Booker and Thomas Copeland along with DeAndre Ayton. They bring in Kennedy Chandler, Austin Hollins, who is their 2nd overall pick, Clifford West, Brevin Walker, Keon Johnson. The Thunder with Holmgren, Klimov, Underwood, Jaden Hardy, Burt Butler, Rodich. I feel like they got worse. They have a different Max Christie on their team. The Timberwolves still have Jaylen Brown, along with Mikal Bridges, who they signed this offseason. Alain Giroud, I believe he is French. They brought in Horace Rivers after they kept him around after offering him in a trade to us. I don't think he'll start over Giroud. They got Gafford, Alfonso Cortez, Stan Barkley, Garrison Best. The Trailblazers, they signed Max Christie with Devin Vassell, Lee Edwards, and Highland and Reed Sullivan all around him. They also have Curtis Soto, who's an up-and-coming young player. The Warriors have Jalen Green, Jonathan Kuminga, Anthony Simons, Tommy Shepard, Wallace Nance, Usman Garuba. I think they're a pretty similar team to what they were last year, but Simons is a pretty big pickup, I will say. The Wizards bring in Trae Young as their new star player to pair along with their young power forward Paolo Pacciani and their young center Terrell Simpson. They've also got Jalen Brunson and Pete Sharp, Kyle Copeland, Derek Ewing, and more. It's a pretty decent team. Could be a playing team or better, maybe. We'll see. 76ers have Tyrese Maxey still along with Lonzo Ball. These are the reigning champions. Dedrick Sloan up to an 85. Eklund, who was offered to us in a trade, who I did not accept. Gary Trent Jr. probably off the bench. Gus Mack off the bench. But they have a really solid starting 5 and then 2 really good guards off the bench. I mean, that's really solid. And Embiid's still here, although definitely regressing, has lost a lot of his allure as a player. Abraham Moreland, who's a rookie, I believe. Wait, do they have Herman Pollard? They do. They brought in Pollard. Nice. The Bucks keep around Giannis and Donovan Mitchell, who is definitely regressing more than Giannis is. They've still got Ochai Agbaji, Gerard Bass, Mark Williams still there, Moses Moody, Julio Purdue. Very similar to last year's roster. Unsure how far they get. They have a pretty good... Actually, they only have like one star player, really, because Mitchell's now more so of like a role player kind of guy. Plenty of badges still, but is he the same player? Not exactly. The Bulls, they've got Franz Wagner and Ant Edwards still on tier contracts for each of them. They got Jonathan George, Jeremy Sochan, Corey Andrews, Casey Wood, Thomas Sevich, Alejandro Santiago, who's got that A+ potential as a shooting guard, already 10 badges. And they also drafted Dante Graves, too. He's pretty solid. So 2 high potential young players for them with 2 pretty decent star players to lead them as well. The Cavaliers still have Mobley, Garland, and Jarrett Allen. They also still have Jeremy Lawson. They bring in Jeremiah Robinson Earl, Kelly Oubre, Jackson Nay's still around. Theo Lowe's there. So different role players, but still a pretty similar starting five. The Celtics, after losing Luka Doncic to the Brooklyn Nets, they retain Tatum, but Jalen Duren has been brought in, along with Cam Thomas, Reggie Stewart, Darius Bazley, but this team is not going to help Tatum out a whole lot. They need a lot of work with this roster. It's not going to get things done. They also have Rich Smalls, rather, a guy that we took a couple years back, and they have Dalen Battle. The Clippers are relying on some growth from Gordon Dunn and Drew Ewing, their top young prospects. And they're both in a pretty good spot. Ewing's got 27 badges now, 84 overall at 22 years old. Dunn, not as many badges, but a very similar overall, a very similar level of play. They still have B.I., although he is now regressing. They still have Ellis Wright IV, who's a pretty good shooter, a sniper, I would say. And they have another young point guard as well, Doug Strickland. They have some really good young talent here. James Wiseman's around. Clayton Martin Jr., Malachi Branham. Very interesting team right there. Could be potential for a playoff run there. DeJounte Murray with Tyrone Murphy in Memphis. But this roster's not very good. They still have Will Hollins, though, and they brought in Ralph Simmons. Good for them. And the Hawks were the ones who traded for Alex Barker during the draft. Crazy move, the biggest one that I have ever seen, I believe, in this series with this caliber of a player. So he will lead the Hawks now. And behind him they got Jay Nivey, Sadiq Bey, Chris Lewis, Benedict Mathurin, Bryant Lamberts, Dylan Watkins. Their top 7 is pretty decent, or their top 6 is pretty decent, but it kind of dropped off after that. Their role players aren't the best, but underrating role players has cost us in years past. Maybe I should not be doing that here. The Heat have Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero with Mitchell Robinson, Dino Jukic, Jose Hernandez, Tari Eason, Dustin Vincent. This team's not going to be doing a whole lot this season, I don't think. The Hornets still have Ben Simmons, along with Oscar Matthews, Ty Washington, Homer Kerr, Clint Capella, Otis Morris Sr. So a lot. Why would they have 5 bigs in their top 7 on their roster? This makes no sense. These guys cannot all get playing time. There's no feasible way that's going to happen. This team's in trouble. And the Utah Jazz with the first overall pick. They got RJ Barrett on one final year of his contract. Jalen Suggs brought in on a new 4-year deal. Pascal Siakam. Then their new starting point guard, Devin Hayward. The first overall pick phenom. A potential. Decent shooter all around. Really good defender. Good playmaker. Really good overall player. Lenny Ware behind him. With Rodney McLeod, Brian Goodwin, and more. Sacktown keeps around McNeil, who was, I believe, the first overall pick 2 years ago. He's got 25 badges now an 87 overall. Yeah, he's going to get that A+ potential no matter the fuck what. He's only 20 years old and already is this damn good. Are you serious, dude? What did he put up last year? 16 points per game, 4 boards, 5 assists. He's going to be a much better shooter, much more scarier player to come across. You might have to watch a game against the Kings this season. They also have Alperen Şengün, Johnny Davis, Rixie Duganix. I am still butchering that several years later. Chase Peterson's still here. They brought in Miles Bridges, Anunoby, Matthew Houston, Malik McGuire, and more. And lastly, the New York Knicks, who have done nothing the entire franchise. Enrique Rivera is still their top guy. They bring back Kristaps. They still have Terrence Strickland, along with Isaac Okoro, Stephen Kennedy. This might be one of the worst rosters in the entire league. There's a huge drop-off after Strickland. Okoro is -4 because of morale, but beyond him, there's a drop-off that is prevalent here. Those are all the moves, all the rosters, all the teams that we have in this league. It's your full league update. And now we can safely head into the 2030-2031 season, our 9th year as a franchise in the NBA. We will kickstart this one next time around against the Houston Rockets on opening night. And again, as a reminder, If you guys have any different ideas on what you want to see on the home jersey, let me know. I will be adding the Bill Russell patch between now and next episode, and I might change up the home uniform regardless of what you guys say in the comments, if you say anything at all, because you might not. But if you do, thank you. And yeah, again, like, subscribe, comment your thoughts on the moves that we made, the rosters across the league, the jerseys, anything, comment down below. I love seeing y'all's comments. And yeah, we'll pick this up next time, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and peace out.